You know what separates the investors who raise real money from the ones who just talk about it? It's not the spreadsheets, it's not the pitch deck, it's discipline and it's speed and it's communication. And most people are slow, confusing, and quite frankly, scattered. So here's the question: how does a guy go from a military officer to a loan officer to raising over $2 million in private money while building multiple businesses and a nationwide lending company? And more importantly, how does he do it consistently? Well, today I've got Wendell Butler on the show, and Wendell is the definition of someone who brings real world discipline into real estate. Former military officer, turned loan officer, turned investor, turned founder of Hammerhead Capital and Flip Fuel Lending. He's done fix and flips. He's done the Burr method, multifamily stabilization across 4 different states. And he understands the lending side, the investing side, and the operator side because he has lived in all 3. Now he runs Flip Fuel Lending, a hard money company serving investors all over the country. And his whole philosophy is brutally simple: speed and communication win every time. That's it. And the results show it. He also runs The Hive in Charlotte, one of the fastest growing entrepreneur meetups around, because he actually believes in building community, not just collecting contacts. So if you want to learn how to raise private money with clarity, confidence, and zero fluff, Wendell is your guy. Welcome to the Raising Private Money Show, the only podcast for real estate investors who want to fund their deals without relying on banks or credit or using their own cash. I'm Jay Conner, the Private Money Authority, and I'll show you how to get private lenders begging to fund your next deal, because every good deal starts with the money. In just a moment, you're going to meet my guest, Wendell Butler, right after this.
If you're a real estate investor and are wondering how to raise and leverage private money to make more profit on every deal, then you're in the right place. On Raising Private Money, we'll speak with new and seasoned investors to dissect their deals and extract the best tips and strategies to help you get the money, because the money comes first. Now here's your host, Jay Conner.
Wendell, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
Oh, I was on mute. Doing good, Jay. Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Well, let's go ahead and dive into it. You've raised over $2 million in private money. Let me ask you, can you think back to some of those very first conversations you had that led you to getting your first private money lender? Do you remember how those conversations went, how you started conversations, what you actually said in the moment to start attracting the money?
I think it was less about what I said. I think it was really more about what I did, right? So what I really focused on was building an initial track record, like using kind of like just my expertise in lending, understanding how deals work, and understanding how to actually make good deals happen. And forming a track record, showing that I've done it before, can replicate it, and there's proof in the pudding that I can, make these other individuals money as well. And once I had that, like a track record, and was confident enough to kind of speak about it, that kind of allowed me to have these discussions with more confidence and kind of lay it out. I would call it Barney style, to potential investors that I can raise money from, to make it less confusing for them, easier to understand and figure out, if they actually want to lend with me. So I think it was a combination of both, right? It was a combination of just building and doing, and having a track record, and then taking that in full confidence and full stride to then communicate it effectively with the investor, and break down what I was gonna, the opportunity that I was presenting them, right?
How much of a track record did you build? How many deals did you do? What did your track record look like before you started attracting private money?
Absolutely. So in the beginning, I only had, I think, about 2. I only did 2 on my own, and they were really just like original, live and flips or house hacks. Um, And they weren't like big or anything crazy of a deal, but the fact that I could leverage understanding money, finances, like as a loan officer, and find ways to do it myself and take the risk myself, really allowed me to build just a more confident track record. Yeah, it was only like 2 deals, but that alone provided enough value for my first investor to want to invest with me.
Okay, so you got a couple of deals underneath your belt. So how did you start conversations? How did you start approaching the subject or having a conversation about someone being a potential private lender with you?
Absolutely. So I always like to start the conversation before, and I know you preach this too, like before even finding the deal, right? And using my past experience and track record of how I leveraged capital to create wealth or create profits. I started the conversations just being like, "Hey, this is what I've done." And it started with close friends and family, of course. I think you should always start with your closest inner circle, and then branch out from there, because they're just easier conversations, and they see what you're doing more, right? Because if you're posting on social media or you meet them at family events and stuff like that, you tell them what you're doing. They have a better idea of like what you do, and like a first, I guess they get the first look at it, right? And know you as a person. So from there, I started just communicating with my close inner circle, um, and talking about what deals I have done, and then how I would structure a deal if they wanted to get involved. And I broke it down very simply. I was just more like, I didn't get into equity splits or anything like crazy like that. I didn't get into um, any type of GP or LP type splits, like anything like confusing. It was really just talking about what rate of return can I get you based on the money that you provide me, whether that be a flat, interest rate, interest only, um, and giving a appetizing rate at that time for that, and that piqued people's interest to then look into hearing more about opportunities, and I would get almost some soft commitments before even bringing them a deal. So once I had soft commitments, then once I had deals under contract or deals close to being under contract, I would then float them their way and then get the approval of yes or no. And if they said yes, we would move forward with the deal and get it done.
Yeah, what you just said is so important, Wendell, and that is keeping it so simple, keeping the communication, the languaging, not using any kind of insider industry jargon. And I know that's important to you. A confused mind does not make a decision. Actually, they do make a decision. That's called no. They want to understand, what's going on. And so I really appreciate you sharing that. Now, you served in the military. Thank you for your service. And discipline is built, at least because of that, into your DNA. So my question is, how would you say discipline has shown up in the way you communicate with private lenders? Or how does it give you an edge?
Yeah. So I think, utilizing discipline to have constant communication with investors or private money lenders is important, right? In understanding that you have to do what you said, right? Now, one thing that I'm very disciplined in is no matter what, I'm going to get my investor the money that I promised them. Even if the deal does go south, like I will get them that money, even if it comes out of my own pocket. And that's just the kind of morality and discipline that I have with every deal. So if you go into every conversation knowing like, hey, I'm going to get them that returns that I promised, even if it comes out of my pocket, you just come with a lot more confidence in your conversation with them. Now, the discipline aspect, it when you're investing in real estate, it's important to be quote unquote disciplined because you want to have systems in place that you make sure hit the timelines. You want to make sure that you stay disciplined in your underwriting. You can't get emotional about deals. I would say you have to take emotion out of it and just look at the numbers. Numbers don't lie, right? If you look at ARVs, the numbers don't lie. If you look at how much a rehab is, the numbers don't lie. And you just have to be very disciplined with your numbers. And the more disciplined you are with your underwriting, which I think I just got from being a loan officer before and having that experience of underwriting many, many deals, the better off you'll be. Because if you always have a kind of a conservative type mindset and disciplined approach to your underwriting, if anything, your deal will only be better than you think it's going to be. So that's how I kind of use discipline in my success in my business so far, is just to always do the right thing, stay disciplined to the numbers. Numbers don't lie, and always have constant communication, clear communication, and constant follow-up with investors if they have any questions or if they have any thoughts or concerns about anything.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, with your experience, Wendell, you come across very, very confident, as you are. And a lot of investors, particularly newer investors, they struggle with actually feeling confident about talking with a potential private lender. What advice would you give regarding mindset shift? What kind of mindset shift helped you go from maybe perhaps hesitating to raising millions in private money?
So I think a lot of people approach it wrong, of raising money or even sales as a whole, right? So raising money, it's technically sales, right? You're trying to sell your service to then make someone money. But if you look at it that way, like, I need to sell this, I think right there is when you lose, right? Because people can really read past, I would say, the BS of if you're really just trying to sell someone or if you actually care and you're trying to help someone. So the mindset shift that you should have is you should look at every deal that you have as an opportunity for somebody, right? It's an opportunity that you created, even if you're newer, right? You found this opportunity. It's an opportunity that you are providing to someone to possibly be a part of, to make some money with you and get some rewards, right? Now, when you approach it that way, and instead you just have a conversation that's educating or showing the opportunity and just explaining what possible benefits you can get from being a part of this opportunity, in turn, you are technically selling it, but it's coming from a different point of view of, hey, I have this opportunity and I think it would be great for you to have. You don't have to say yes. You don't have to say no. It's up to you. But here's the facts. Here's the education on the opportunity. And it's totally up to you to make that decision. And if you approach it that way, where you almost come across like you don't need the money, even if you do need it, right? That approach usually is a lot more, it's just taken better, right? You build relationships better that way, and people can smell desperation from afar, right? So if you're really,
I heard somebody say that one time.
Yeah, like I think his name's Jay, but it's spot on, right? It's the exact way you have to approach it. And, if you smell or if you sound like you need it, like I wouldn't give you money if you were coming to me. I'd be like, ugh, like it just. No, I'd feel wrong, right? But if you're like, here's the opportunity, this is what the math is, take it or leave it. If you want to do it, sweet. If not, cool. Here's my track record. More people will invest with that approach. Maybe not that nonchalant, but I was being very broad with it.
Right. Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I say all the time, the whole mindset thing, there's no chasing, there's no begging, there's no selling, there's no persuading. You're really not selling. What are you doing, as you said, to use your words, Wendell? You're offering an opportunity to serve these people, right? There's more private money and private lenders than there are deals, to tell you the truth. And one thing that takes the pressure off of selling is putting on what I call your teacher hat, right? Figuratively, put on your teacher hat, the private money teacher hat. And, I got 47 private lenders, and not one of them ever heard anything about private money until I started sharing it with them. So I sort of view myself as a doctor. I'm diagnosing, I'm looking to see if they have a problem. And the problem would be they're not happy with the returns on their investment capital or their retirement accounts. And so first, all I'm looking to do is diagnose if I have a solution to a problem that they have. And if they don't have a problem, then no problem. I just move on. And also, when you're not attaching a deal to offering the opportunity, then it just takes the pressure off. I mean, there's no deadline, I got to close by next week or the following week or whatever. And it just really allows you to put yourself in a position of a servant to offer these people a solution. This world of private money, I'm not looking for rich people. I'm looking for ordinary people that's got what I call lazy money. Well, what is lazy money? Lazy money is money that's laying around not working. Well, that's why I call it lazy. It's not working for the owner of that money. So here we come along offering a way, offering our private lending opportunity as to the interest rate we pay, how they can get their money back in case of an emergency, and how it's all about service. Now, you've been a loan officer for institutional money. You've talked about the underwriting that you've done, and that gave you some really, really good experience. So sort of walk us through your underwriting process. Now, here's what I mean by that. When we're raising private money, we are our own underwriter, which is a little hard for new capital raisers to wrap that around their brain, because we're so used to whoever we think, here we got to change the mindset. We think whoever's got the money makes the rules. That's the 99% of the world out there. Whoever's got the money underwrites it, sets the terms, sets the interest rate. But in this world, we are offering an opportunity and we are our own underwriter, so to speak. But, you've raised private money, but you're also, do the hard money thing as well. So walk us through the underwriting process. And what I mean by that is, what are the key things that you look for that make a deal what I would call private money ready?
Yeah. So the way I look at it is with all my underwriting, I always start at it's pretty simple. It's like whatever deal fits my buy box is usually always private money ready. And the reason I say that is we try to get a big enough spread that it doesn't really matter to the point that I can add more leverage to the deal. Like, say if I'm using hard money and then I'm also raising private money to be part of that, like I have a big enough spread that it doesn't really take out of my pocket or affect the deal at all, to make it get in trouble or have like too much of a profit loss. So it's kind of looking at each deal. I like to be very risk adverse. And I think it's from having a lender background. So we usually keep our deals pretty clean and pretty normal without a ton of risk. So for example, we like to do mostly just cosmetic upgrades. So like single family, 1-story brick ranches, 3 bed, 2 baths. We love, and we like them when they're grandma clean. And the reason for that is because we do this all the time and we have a lot of speed with our contractors to quickly flip those properties, for example, for fix and flip. And then is a lot less risk in it because you're not opening up like walls or doing full guts or dealing with fire damage or dealing with, problems that could arise and then run into a lot of trouble that could affect, the profit return or the raise, maybe didn't raise enough money. So it all comes down to being risk adverse with the initial underwriting of the deal. And then staying within your buy box of like the profit spread that you try to make as the opportunity provider. And as long as you're hitting those two, usually it always falls within, a deal that can be a private lender deal. That's a good question. I mean, I never really thought about it that way, to be honest. So I don't know if I answered it correctly. But
Sure.
if you need me
Well,
to dive into it more, let me know.
Sure, but like, in my circumstance, my underwriting process, as far as how I look after my private lenders, I'm not going to borrow more than 75% of the after repaired value. I didn't say 75% of the purchase price, but 75% of the after repaired value. I want to look after them. The underwriting process, I want to protect my private lenders. For example, all the private lender loans that we do, that we borrow, are asset based. We don't borrow any unsecured debt. It's all asset based. We give our lenders, our private lenders, a deed of trust. Most states, they call it a mortgage. So that collateralizes the note. We also name our private lenders on the insurance policy, the property insurance policy, as the mortgagee. That gives them another layer of protection. We give them a 90-day call option. If they want to call the note due early, they got some kind of emergency that comes up, they can call the note due early, give us 90 days. That gives us plenty of time to, replace them. So it's all about, it comes back to that attitude of serving and looking after, their best interest. Now, Wendell, you also run the Hive in Charlotte, a growing entrepreneurial community. So here's my question. How has community building like that, has it? And if so, how's it translated into private lenders, partnerships, deal flow, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, I tell everybody that wants to get into any type of business, real estate or just tech or any type of business or entrepreneurial journey, to always try to go to meetups and just talk to people that are like-minded or trying to, succeed to goals that are similar and similar aspirations of yourself, right? Because it's like the cliche saying of, you surround yourself with 5 people or 4 people, whatever the number is, you'll become the 5th or the 6th average of those people, right? So it's the reason I started that event is in Charlotte. I couldn't really find one that was ran very well, that was like a full entrepreneurial type of networking event where you can meet a lot of like-minded individuals. Another reason is because you can build great relationships there. And from that, deals and, private money might arise, but I approached it with the mindset of building relationships, learning from other entrepreneurs about maybe how they run their business, which they can then transfer possibly into my business and how I run it better, and vice versa. I can help them too. Now, when you build true relationships like that, where you're trying to help everybody and become, like you said, like a servant to each other, deals, private money, things will just come because people start trusting you more, you start building relationships more, and it becomes a lot more of a fulfilling process. And you have stronger trust and relationships with people. So believe it or not, like, you would think I would have to start just a real estate focused entrepreneurial group to like try to get deals or try to get money. And if that was my only mind frame to do it, again, people would probably smell desperation, right? But instead I approached it as, this is where I find purpose anyway, is I approached it as trying to meet a ton of entrepreneurs, learn from them to help better myself and vice versa. Maybe I can give them some information that helps better themselves. And in turn, if I can get deals, private money, etc., from that as like a cherry on top, great. If I don't, oh well, it doesn't matter, because I'm still building myself internally as a better person. And in turn, that just makes your business more successful and profitable, and it just makes you a better person. So that's how I've approached it. And that's kind of what the Hive is about. It's about just putting entrepreneurs in the same room together, maybe not the same business, in the same niche, but you have the same type of mindset of hitting goals, growing, and you can help each other in each of their businesses, because I believe that most businesses are very transferable. The systems and the processes and the true ins and outs of business are very similar across the board.
Beautiful insights there, Wendell. So for a new, or let's say maybe a mid-level investor listening right now, if they wanted to raise, say, their first $100,000 in private money in the next 30 days, what steps would you tell them to take?
$100,000 the next 30 days. I would say first, add an extra 0 to that and say, I'm going to raise $1 million. And that's not to stress you out, and it's not to make you freak out. It's to just set your goal higher than you think, because you're going to fall somewhere in between there, and it's going to end up being better than, like, the amount that you originally thought. I'm a big supporter of setting goals that are higher, not out of reach, but something that scares you, right? Because even if you don't get to it, you're going to be farther along than if you set the goal lower and didn't didn't get to that, right? Because you're gonna move along farther. But I would first say the first thing you want to do is educate yourself as much as possible. Say you're a new investor and you've never even done a deal, period, right? Maybe you can't get a track record, so you have no money. Maybe that's the barrier that you're running into. That's fine. Now, there's a ton of education out there. This YouTube, which is free. You can learn a ton on YouTube. YouTube University, one of the best places you can learn, right? You got tons of books, hundreds of thousands of real estate books out there from investors that are experienced. They've gone through it all. They have lessons to teach, and they're writing them literally in a book so you don't make the same lessons. They're giving you guidelines of how to invest in real estate. Like, it's just pick up some books and read. So you got podcasts to listen to, like this one, that you can learn a lot too. Now, fill yourself up with as much education as possible. And I always tell people to continue doing that until you start seeing the same stuff again and again, because you will. Real estate's not, it's not a secret formula. A lot of it's very similar. A lot of it will repeat itself. A lot of people are doing the same stuff and saying the same stuff. So once you start reading the same stuff again and again, that's when it's time to take action. Now, you might not have a track record, but you have a ton of education now, and you have this ability, if you have time, you have the ability to actually do the deal or complete a deal. And this is when you can start talking to your inner circle of influence, which is usually your friends and family, right? You start telling them what you're trying to do, what you would like to do, and just educating them on what you learned, right? Now, not everybody's going to love it. Not everybody's going to be like, oh, heck yeah, I want to be part of that too. Some people will be like, oh, you're insane. You're crazy. In this economy, why would you ever want to do that? Real estate's, right? We deal with that every day. I'm sure Jay hears that a lot too. But there will be some people that are very intrigued and they're like, wow, I didn't know that. And then you start educating them more. And then those ones, that's what you put on, like Jay said, you put on your teacher hat and you just continue educating them about how deals work, how you would look into a deal, how you'd possibly, organize a deal, and then see, pitch and just ask, say, hey, if I find one, would you be interested in joining in on and dishing some money, and being part of it? I say that is where you would start. And I guarantee you in 30 days, if you do that and you talk to enough people, you'll be surprised how many people will give you soft commitments, some hard commitments. Some will be so excited they'll be asking you where the deal is, right? I guarantee you it'll happen. It's just all about being resilient, being disciplined, and 100% educating yourself before you start. Don't go into it blind. You have to educate yourself as much as possible before you have this communication and conversation with people. Otherwise, they'll be able to, know that you're just BSing. So that's how I would approach it. And I guarantee that within 30 days, you'll be able to raise a lot more than you thought.
All right, Wendell, what you have said is absolutely solid. A lot of people talk about raising private money, but you actually gave us the mindset, the systems, the real conversations behind how you have actually gone out there and done it. So for everyone listening, if you didn't catch it, rewind this episode. Wendell dropped the exact frameworks he used to raise private capital, communicating with lenders, and building businesses that actually run instead of constantly breaking down. Wendell, before we wrap up, what's the best place for people to connect with you, learn more about Flip Fuel Lending, or plug into the Hive community that you're building?
Absolutely. I built a website that's just called wendellbutler.com to make it easy. And I got links to all my businesses there. I got my contact information there if you want to shoot me an email, my social media as well. Just reach out anytime. I'm always here to help out or connect. So I'm all about connecting and having an abundance mindset. So reach on out.
All right. So that website to connect with Wendell Butler is www.wendellbutler.com, spelled WENDELLBUTLER.com. And of course, all this will be in the show notes. Perfect. And for all of you listening, remember, private money does not go to the smartest investor. It goes to the most prepared investor, as Wendell was just talking about, the most consistent and the most trustworthy. Take what you've heard today, start applying it today, not when you feel ready. If you got value from this episode, share it with another investor who needs to hear this, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. This is Raising Private Money. I'm Jay Conner, and we'll see you right here on the next episode.
Are you feeling inspired by the knowledge you gained in this episode? Then head over to jconner.com/moneyguide. That's jconner.com/moneyguide and download your free guide that shares 7 reasons why private money will skyrocket your real estate investing business right now. Again, that's jconner.com/moneyguide to get your free guide. We'll see you next time on Raising Private Money with Jay Conner.